Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, Matt Mallory of Meet the Pressers. Matt, thanks for joining us today, man.
Glad to be back again. Always fun.
So, you've got a little bit of news you wanted to share as we got here today, man.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, when I was on the show with you, I ended up doing what I suggest everybody out there do and become a member of the Second Amendment Foundation. I did that and was not expecting to get my packet in the mail so quickly, but I did actually. In the mail that came yesterday, which is fitting for today, was my entire packet, which is going to look pretty cool on the wall. So make sure everybody sign up for the Second Amendment Foundation. They're doing amazing things for freedom, for us to be able to help keep the Second Amendment live and well. And that's the only thing that's keeping this government from taking everything from us.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about a little bit about that as we get into the news here. We're going to be talking about a lawsuit SAF has filed in California, but
Yep.
I got a couple other stories I want to get to here first. And I get over to my show notes. First one looks like last night the Judiciary Committee, they were really busy. They advanced two bills out of committee. Uh, First of all, one was a bill that would ban the sale of commonly owned rifles, shotguns, and handguns using standard capacity magazines. And they also approved legislation to repeal the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, commonly known as PLCAA, and would also put law enforcement in danger by allowing public release of sensitive law enforcement data on prime firearms. I got that alert from NSSF today. Um, this is clearing. Well, let me put this graphic up here. The number for the U.S. Capitol switchboard 202-224-3121. This
Make
could
it
get
rain.
voted on as early in the full House as early as tomorrow. Um, it is really important. I don't care if your congressperson is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or if Nancy Pelosi is your congressperson. Call
Yeah.
their office. Make sure they
Or
know that you don't want this to go through.
or even in my case, where it's John Katko and Chuck Schumer in the Senate, and that here in New York State. John Katko may be a Republican, but he definitely does not vote that way. So it doesn't matter who it is, even if they're a Democrat. Let them know. The more of us that voice our opinion, especially if you're a Democrat voicing your opinion to a Democrat, please do that, because that's the only way to make stuff like this stop in its tracks, where they realize that us peasants, they work for us.
Yes.
And what we say goes, and they just got this blanket pen that they're just trying to sign everything into law and not worry about it. And they know it's going to get shut down once it gets to the Supreme Court, but that could take years. And by then,
Good.
who knows what the Supreme Court will look like.
Well, and let's every 2 years, every member of the House is up for reelection. The Senate, Schumer is a different story. He's every 6 years, so 1/3 of the Senate is up every 2 years. But
Yep.
every member of the House is up for reelection every 2 years. So if you call your House representative, that means something, and especially now where they're up for election coming up in a few months. Some of them have just completed, very recently completed their primaries. So if they're up for reelection, right now your call might mean something.
Yep, for sure. For sure. I know John Katko is pressured enough. He's actually not going to run again. He decided to just to bow out and not run, which kind of puts us in a conundrum here, because the way it leans and the way the districts are drawn out. But it's definitely something I'd rather have. In some sense, I'd rather have a pro-gun Democrat in than a rhino Republican who's just voting just to keep his job.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I've always said is I am a single issue voter, period. I will easily vote for a pro gun Democrat simply because if
Hmm.
they're going to trust you with your guns, they're going to trust you
Right.
with a lot of other stuff.
Right. Exactly. It's freedom of speech, freedom to bear arms.
Yeah,
If we can agree on that, then I don't care who you are. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care none of that. Because those two really is what makes everything else fall into place. Live your
absolutely.
life the way your life.
I want to go on. This one also caught my eye today. David Hogg, or Piglet as I call him, was made the news last night. At least I caught it off Fox News. He was at the Judiciary Committee hearing last night and got
Yeah.
kicked out of the hearing because he was screaming, "You are perpetuating violence! Stop these things now!" He says that this isn't going far enough. And
Yeah,
this
let's
coming,
put all the criminals away.
yeah,
That might help.
this is coming from a kid who claims he was a survivor of the 2018 Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shootings. He claims he was a survivor, but he's a survivor because he skipped school that day. And when he heard there was a shooting, he had to get on his bike and hustle to school so he could say he was there.
That makes me think like I was in the army. So just because I was in the army, I'm a combat vet, right? No, I'm not a combat vet. I didn't see combat. I was in between the wars. That's the one thing like nowadays, because we've had recent wars, I cringe when I say that I was in the military because most people think I went to war. I seen war. I didn't. I was in between both the wars when I went in the 90s. So I usually try to preference that. I was in, it wasn't, it was a quiet time, it was in between the wars, just to take it off their mind so they don't automatically think that I was a combat vet, because I wasn't. And, this guy is, man, he's a dirtbag. That's stolen valor is kind of the same concept, right? I wouldn't do that because I wouldn't want anybody to say stolen valor. This guy is literally saying he's a survivor of a school shooting. No, just because you go to the school, dude, you're not a survivor. I would even say that, okay, you were at the school when it happened. Okay, were you engaged with the active shooter? I mean, if he was there when it happened, okay, you survived that day at the school. But were you in the classroom when he was shooting at you? No. Okay, and you lived, survivor, for sure. Wouldn't argue it a bit. But you rode your bike to school after the event happened. You're a dirtbag.
That's it. That's exactly it. I want to remind everybody, if you want to get your comments in, get your opinions in, comment on either the live Facebook or YouTube video, or if you're catching us on OpsLens, you can tweet. You can go to Twitter, tweet with the hashtag Bullet Podcast, and that'll get to me. We'll get your comments up. I want to get this comment up here real quick. Big John 410 is psychic. He knows a story that's coming up. Delaware State Sportsman Association, among other groups, filed suit against Governor John Carney's assault weapons ban in U.S. District Court. That happened yesterday. That is a story that is coming up, but lots of lawsuits that are in the news lately, man. It's we're fighting.
Yeah. Well, I think that the momentum is going that way because we're getting so many wins. We're kind of like, oh wow, look, I mean, I did New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. 7 years, they finally got to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court ruled in their favor. I'm like, maybe I haven't been supporting them like I should be. I joined them again too. Them and Gun Owners of America, obviously, Second Amendment Foundation. I'm putting my money where the stuff's happening, because they need more funds to be able to push more of this stuff quicker, faster, get it to the Supreme Court, be able to do appeals. All that stuff costs money.
Yeah, it does. It does. To get even if the attorneys donate their time and go pro bono, it still costs an enormous amount of money to push a lawsuit forward. Their staff cannot work for free. There are costs associated with the lawsuit, such as printing, that are not free. There's a lot of costs that go with filing lawsuits.
And a lot of people don't think about it, but think about it. The people that are putting these laws in place, what money are they using? Our money. Our money. They're using our tax money to make these illegal laws, these laws that won't pass muster when it gets to the Supreme Court. And then we've got to
defend them.
And to defend them. Yeah, right, exactly. Like New York State, Governor Hochul, when this goes to the Supreme Court, which it probably will, the new CCIE law, she's using our money to enact it. She's using our money to appeal it every time she wants to appeal it. If she's going to appeal it, hopefully she doesn't. Highway robbery. Boston Tea Party again, can we say?
Yes.
Taxation without representation.
Next story I want to get to, again, with lawsuits. Second Amendment Foundation files for a preliminary injunction in the California gun advertising case. The SAF filed a motion for a preliminary injunction in the California case of Junior Sports Magazines versus Bonta in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California. SAF founder and executive vice president Alan M. Gottlieb is hopeful for a preliminary injunction, noting, quote, "We're filing because of a right delayed is a right denied." He's represented by attorney Donald Kilmer of Idaho. By the way, Don Kilmer's spoken with him, had him on the show previously. The guy is brilliant.
Nice.
Gottlieb noted this is a First Amendment case because it challenges a recently signed law, AB 2571, which prohibits pro-gun advertising and display of any firearm-related product in a manner that is designed, intended, or reasonably appears to be attractive to minors. In his declaration for support of the motion, Gottlieb explains it is critical to the success of the SAF that its promotional material, publications, and messages about the right to keep and bear arms be permitted to reach a broad public audience, including minors and young adults. And I'm going to finish with this. Among SAF's activities is its support and sponsorship of an initiative called 2A Gaming. Gottlieb's described this effort as an outreach program funded by SAF with a goal of growing the Second Amendment community. The audience consists of people who play video games, especially games that focus on firearms. Yeah, if this AB 2571 goes through, all of a sudden you can't get Call of Duty in California because there's scary firearms in there.
Yeah, but Grand Theft Auto works where you can kill cops and rape hookers and whatever.
Yeah.
Super. Join the Second Amendment Foundation. You said it right there when you were saying that, Paul. One of the things is that it's crucial the Second Amendment Foundation prevails in this. So join it. We actually, I mentioned to you earlier, but I'll mention to the viewers and listeners now. We recorded with Alan for Meet the Pressers last week, and that episode should be airing in the next couple of weeks. So make sure meetthepressers.com, like our YouTube channel and all that stuff, so that way you can see that episode when it comes out with Alan Gottlieb.
Let me get this comment up, and there we go. Gun Websites wants to know, what has 2A Gaming been up to? That's Andrew Gottlieb's thing. I don't have as much contact with Andrew as I'd like to. I haven't. What he was doing early was he was doing a lot of gaming online himself and trying to push it that way. I don't know exactly what they've been up to lately, and I haven't even seen anything active on their Facebook page recently, but I would expect that to be changed here very soon. George says, we are winning in the courts. Next, we need to win in the voting booth. Yeah, I would agree with that. Let me take a little bit of a different tack here. The way we do that, believe it or not, is there's two fronts here. Number one, the first one is the toughest one. You've got to be a nice person. You've got to be friends to a lot of people. That's the tougher one. The second one is you've got to take people shooting. Take new people out with you when you go shooting. Let them experience how much fun it is, how enjoyable it is, and how safe it is.
Yep.
That's the second way you turn people. And you help. And another, never, ever, ever talk politics when you go shooting. Don't leave it. Just leave it alone. Let them experience how good shooting is. Let them get into it. They'll figure out the politics on their own.
That's a good point. Yeah. Then you're not arguing about it there. You're just teaching them guns. And then when they hear somebody say, we're going to ban the gun, wait, I just shot that gun with Matt. And that wasn't what they just said that it's an assault rifle and it's scary and it shoots 50,000 rounds in a second by one pull of the trigger. And no, that didn't. I had to go bang, bang. That's a semi-automatic. And they're trying to ban semi-automatics now? What? Exactly. Let them learn on their own, put two and two together.
Exactly.
I like that. It's good advice.
All right. Next story, we're going to step off of lawsuits for just a second, but this is a different kind of a lawsuit. I talked about this story on and off for quite a while. Uh, Back in 2017, 19-year-old Jeremy Holmes was shot and killed by a Fort Collins, Colorado police officer and an officer with the Colorado State University after he rushed towards the officer while brandishing a knife. Saying he was carrying a knife is not quite accurate. He was actually, it was a machete he was holding. Police had been alerted to Holmes thanks to a 911 call from his mother, who told dispatchers her son had a large knife, was threatening to kill his brother and sister-in-law. There's a lot more to this story. Basically, trying to synopsize, the guy who ended up getting shot was threatening his brother and sister-in-law. Mom calls police. Police come, and the kid says, "Look, you're going to lose one kid, or you're going to lose two kids today. I'm going to kill my brother, and then the police are going to shoot me." Well, the police got there before he could kill his brother, but he charged the police with this machete in attack position. Police had really no choice. He committed suicide by cop.
Yeah.
Later on, this lady files a red flag charge against the officer that actually shot her child and claims that they had a child together. Well, she had two kids. One of them, the officer unfortunately had to shoot. She basically lied, and today she was sentenced to probation.
I mean, it's being in law enforcement. That's one of the things that I would despise. Somebody just not in their right mind wanting to commit suicide, and then they see an officer and they start running at the officer in a threatening manner. I mean, we see video over and over again where officers are backing up, giving them commands, totally justified in shooting that person immediately at that second because they have a weapon and they're moving towards that officer. But that officer, you can see the anguish. That officer does not want to shoot that person. Who does? I don't want to put somebody out of their misery that way. I want them to get mental help so that they can continue living a good life, or live a good life, I should say. So that's just any officer that's in that situation. I mean, I feel for him because that's mental. The four horses of your apocalypse. Criminally, you're probably not going to get charged, but civilly, you might. By, like in this case, she didn't sue civilly, but she did something else. Which the other aspect is the mental aspect, which obviously she's a little cuckoo if she's doing stuff like that. And then the jury of public opinion. I guarantee there's people out there that think that officer's a dirtbag, and he's not. He was trying to stay alive so he could make it home to his family. Yeah, that's a bad situation. But hey, she got convicted of something. I've been saying for a long time that these red flag ERPO, emergency risk protection orders, are a crock, and people are going to do false flags like this, and nothing's going to happen from it. And this is something's better than nothing, but it's still kind of pathetic that all she got was probation for having that red flag. I mean, you have this happen, and then the cops show up and kick the door in, and you get into a gunfight. Like if the cops kick my door in, I'm hoping I'm getting a call from the sheriff or state troopers or something ahead of time because they know me. Hey, Matt, yeah, we're going to be coming to your house. Please don't shoot us. Like, all right, okay, well, what's going on? I don't want to get into a gunfight with I don't want to get into a gunfight with anybody. Nobody, good guys or bad guys. Be nice to everybody, like they're doing, right? Hey guys, just be nice to everybody. The little penguins from Madagascar. Smile and wave. Smile and wave.
There you go. We get a couple comments in here.
Cool.
Going back to the First Amendment lawsuit that SAF is putting forth in California, DJ Play Nice says there are a lot of examples of products that have had their advertisement restricted or limited. This is an askew approach from them, but it is understandable. And he continues, not cool, but not terribly surprising. Things like alcohol and cigarettes are examples that come to mind. See Joe Camel. Yeah, maybe.
When you mentioned, we started talking about this, the first thing I thought was cigarettes and how they promoted it to kids and such. But it's different, right? It's different in the sense that, cigarettes are something, it's an addiction where, well, firearms are an addiction too. But,
not like cigarettes are, bud. I'm telling you, first person, it's It's
But
easier to kick firearms than it is cigarettes.
but I mean, we're talking about a Second Amendment right, so they're targeting towards kids. There's already laws in place to keep kids at a certain age from getting guns.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's parents there to teach kids the right way about guns. I mean, I got my first BB gun at probably 7 or 8 years old, if I remember right. First BB gun, right? You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Almost did a few times, but you learn.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is not whiskey, if anybody's wondering. It's just water.
Neither is this. Neither is this. Talk a lot during this half hour, so I need to lubricate things. Let's get this one up here. Patrick Collins says use of a firearm is typically either going to be the best or worst day of your life. A successful save doesn't necessarily mean a good day either. You know what? Kyle Rittenhouse.
Mm-hmm. Look, the anguish that went through him when he almost passed out when they innocent on all counts, right? In the court. I mean, that's look at the Indiana. I was just talking about a local radio show. iHeartRadio did a Wednesday morning. I did a segment with Dave Allen locally, and we talked about the Indiana shooter. I mean, that kid right now, 22 years old or whatever, he's saying, please just leave me alone. Let me just get my wits about me, what happened and stuff. It definitely is going to take a toll. That's that mental aspect of the 4 horses year apocalypse that I coined.
And I mean, Matt, you're a trainer. Let's take a look at that for just a second. He had 15 seconds to respond and 15 seconds to act. 30 seconds, the whole thing was over. 40 yards, he started engagement. So that is 40.
Pretty good shot.
120 foot. He starts engagement with, my understanding, is a relatively stock Glock. And 8 out of 10 shots in 15 seconds at distance.
Yeah, there's a lot of people going to be making up shooting drills for that. John Cree actually made a good point. Is the eight shots on target, or 8 holes? Are these 8 holes and plus 8 exit wounds? Are they 8? So there's still, we got to wait a little bit to see fully. But yeah, if it's true that it was 8 shots on target out of 10 and all hit the person, that's good. I mean, that's some good shooting at 40 yards, tactically moving, using cover concealment to your benefit while you're telling people to get out. I mean, it takes a lot to be able to do that. Military law enforcement kind of mindset, and he didn't have either training from either military or law enforcement. So kudos to him for stopping that dirtbag from what he was doing. And unfortunately, some people perished. But like, how many more would have perished if he wasn't there? Exactly. I mean, it was an edict that they didn't want him to have anybody to have guns there. The bad guy didn't care about that sign. Thank God he didn't either. It's not breaking the law, but it was a trespassing if they caught him with it prior, and he said no, kind of like New York. For the time being, in September it'll be a Class C felony. Thank you, Hochul.
Yeah. Thank goodness that the entire nation doesn't go the way that New York does. But
we're setting trends. Not in a good way.
And we're totally going off script here because I hadn't planned to talk about this at all. But another good thing is that Indiana, like South Dakota, if there's a no gun sign, what it means is conceal your darn gun. If you get caught carrying, then the person owning the property has to ask you to leave. If you refuse to leave after being asked, then you're breaking the law. Until then, you're not.
And that's the same here in New York. A lot of people don't know that. They see a no gun sign, they think it's against the law. And I mean, technically, it's a trespass if you're there knowing you're there, and then they catch you and tell you to leave. And I always tell people, just don't go to those places. If you see a sign that says no guns allowed, why would you want to go to a place where the major majority of people are not going to carry, that are good people? And bad people could give a damn about that sign because they're already committing crime. They're going to be there with a gun. So just don't go to stupid places where stupid people do stupid things at stupid times, so your life doesn't become stupid, right? John Farnham's little skit.
Yeah. Don't go to stupid places with stupid people and do stupid things. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate here a little bit. I got into a conversation on YouTube a few days ago. This person, who I respect greatly, And I have actually taken, he's a firearms trainer, and I've taken training with that person, from that person.
Mhm.
Said, can we at least all agree that it's not good to go eat at a food court? I'm like, dude, I'm not going to change what I do just because of fear. I'm going to be as
Yeah.
I'm going to pay attention as much as I can. I'm going to, if I'm with a group of people, they all want to go eat at the food court in the mall, I'm going to go with them. I'll pay attention as
Yeah.
much as I can. Hopefully my wife is with me, so there'll be another pair of eyes and another gun, but
Right.
I'm not going to give up living life out of fear that somebody might show up and make a bad day for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I mean,
prepare.
I look at it this way, and there's been two situations that I can recall: the Colorado movie theater shooting. The guy there, I don't say their names, but everybody knows the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly after, like within days of that happening, my wife's like, "Hey, we're going to the movies." I'm like, "No, you're not. There was an active shooter. Active. I call them active killers." And she's like, "Well, come with us." And I'm like, "No, it doesn't work that way. You're not just going to bring me along and hope that nobody attacks the movie theater we're in." So we went to the movies, and I was just very attuned to what was going on. That close to bringing some nods, night vision goggles, but then I thought I might look like a repeat, right? Somebody who's a copycat. And then the other one was after a restaurant shooting, and my wife went out to dinner. Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting in the back corner. I'm a little bit more on it. I mean, in cases like that, I'd say if I had the choice and I wanted to stay, it didn't care about getting married for 30 plus years, I probably would have said, no, we're not going. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. Nothing happened. Copycats is on my mind when stuff like that happens. But it's the same concept. We train in law enforcement, security guards, etc. The Mozambique failure drill, two to the chest, rest of the face, two to the chest, rest of the pelvic girdle, that kind of mindset because of Mozambique. But we kind of fell off and didn't do that as much until we start seeing things like the Buffalo shooters who had the ballistics vest on, the Texas shooter who had the ballistics vest on. That kind of stuff makes us go, oh yeah, we were training that. And we kind of fell off. We got complacent. Everything we do as a human is complacent. Same with shooting from above. And then you have the thing that happened in Vegas there with the country music concert where the
Mm-hmm.
shooter was from above. We teach 360, pay attention to 360, but I mean, technically we should be paying 720, right? Above and below us too. If we're in a mall, the floor is below us. That stuff comes into play and we kind of forget about it because nothing's happened recently. And then all of a sudden something happens. We're like, oh yeah, that's right. 720, not just 360. Locking your doors, setting your alarm in your house. When you don't do it, well, and then something happens in the news and you're like, oh shoot, I better start locking the door again. And we get complacent as humans,
That's
unfortunately.
that's part of the human condition, I think. I think it
Yeah.
is when bad things aren't noticing, and things are happening, and it just kind of eventually falls from the front of your mind, and
Mm-hmm.
you know. Let's get a couple of comments in here. Uh, Gun websites. G Web says, "How can you live a normal life even though my lightning might strike?"
It's a good point. That's very valid.
And Gerald, same kind of lines. Gerald over in the Facebook side says, "You have to live your life. I'm going to the county fair. Our county fair. Go ahead.
No, go. You go ahead. I took a lot. Go ahead.
Our our county fair is coming up here. I'm going not this weekend, but next weekend is the women's shooting event in Detroit. I'm going to Detroit to help that. That's Saturday and Sunday, the 30th, 31st of July.
Yep.
I come back August 1st. I think it's August 5th. The local fair here in my town starts.
Nice.
And not only am I going to that fair, I'm planning on going. 38 Special is playing at the county fair. I really want to go to that. I'm probably going to go to that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, same here. Our New York State Fair, which is like I think the first or one of the first state fairs in the country. That's at the end of August, beginning of September, and we usually go at least one day. Usually go Veterans Day, and we get in for free that day. But it doesn't matter. Whatever my schedule works. But we're going. My wife asked me yesterday, like, "Hey, we gonna go to the fair?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd like to at least one day. Just walk around. We usually get the 25-cent milk and some cheese curds, and we go look at the apiary section because I'm a beekeeper, and we go look at the cows and the butter sculpture and the sand sculpture. Just kind of eat our potato. We got a stuffed potato here at the state fairs. Just the fun things like that. We just usually spend a day or at least half a day walking around the fair. And
Yeah,
COVID scared people away, many years. And last year we went and we were like, whatever, we get COVID. Herd mentality, right?
exactly. Well, we are down at the bottom of the hour, man. We're not going to be able to
Wow,
get to any of the rest. Yeah, that flies
that was
by.
fast.
We had some more stories, including that there's that story about the lawsuit in Delaware, but we'll get out. Tomorrow's another show. Tomorrow, Tom Walls is not going to be able to join us, so Charlie Cook is going to step up in his place. We'll be talking about with Charlie about the Delaware assault weapons ban story. At Oregon, there's an Oregon story. Apparently, there's an initiative going to ballot this fall. They're going to let you vote on whether you want them to infringe on your rights some more. And Illinois State is going to infringe on your rights some more just because the governor says it's okay. We'll get to those stories tomorrow. On the way out, Matt, what do you want? Anything you want to plug?
Oh, I've got UTM and saber courses all around the country coming up through end of this month in New York, September's in Florida, October's in Texas at the USCC Expo, and then November in I don't know, but September, October, November, teaching classes around the country if anybody's looking to get certified as an instructor for those. And then obviously all my New York classes in the area here. And yeah, check out Meet the Pressers. Got a lot of good interviews coming out. So
very cool. On my end, I want to encourage everybody, do please come join us 5 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. Charlie Cook will be here with me. We'll be discussing the stories I just talked about, plus more. And on Saturday, Cheryl Todd is going to be joining me on the weekend edition, the Week in Review. And Mike Piwowarski and Charlie Cook again will be joining for the weekend edition of the show. Thanks, everybody, for watching.